Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Kel, Killer Kel, Kevin Eugene, Master Lee, back at it again with another video. And for today's video, we are going to be doing a video that is similar to an idea that I've seen while watching somebody else's channel. And it's not to say that I'm trying to steal people's ideas or whatever, but the idea that we're referring to, which I'll get into a little while, I thought it was a really, really good idea. And as you can see, based off the thumbnail and the banner in the back, it is a recruitment season idea. But like I said, I thought the idea I saw was a really, really good idea, especially for this month of February. And that is, we are going to be making our own all black superhero team. And I originally saw this idea while watching the channel Blurred Without Fear by my man's Ernie. And I suggest that I'll go check out his videos. His videos are real good. Unlike a lot of comic book videos, he's blunt. He's blunt with his feelings, his thoughts. He connects it a lot to culture. He's funny. It's a real good channel. He seems like a real solid dude, so I suggest that I'll go check him out. But he made a few all-black superhero teams. Because like I said, while he talks about culture a lot, as a black man and a black nerd himself, he understands how us black people in the community, feel when it comes to comics, why we connect to certain stuff. And he looks at the stories and analyzes them on a cultural level. So while I look at stuff from like a historical level, philosophical level, psychology, criminal justice, he does the same thing, but it's more in a way that's more culture based. And there's no problem with that. I think I need to start doing that too. But he has opened my mind and my eyes to so many things culturally when it comes to certain characters I like. It made me rethink about a whole lot of stories more, and not in a bad way. Like I saying, oh, this story ain't really that good. But he made me really think and ponder on certain stuff. And I think as you grow and develop as a person, you should be open to re-exploring your feelings and your thoughts about certain things. So I suggest you go check him out. But like I said, he has a whole bunch of segments where he talks about black characters individually and as a whole, because even though a lot of my favorite characters are Caucasian, there aren't a lot of black characters who get a lot of spotlight. That I feel like we need more representation that's not so negative. We're seen as, oh, we're going to be bad baby daddies, or we're going to fail in life. We're going to end up in jail by this, that, and third. We're going to end up dead, this, that, and third. We're going to do drugs. We're not going to graduate. We're going to be dropouts and stuff. And I think, like, with a lot of comic book characters that are black, or a lot of fictional characters in general, there are some who don't really stick to that stereotype. And they show the world that, hey, these black characters, there's more to them than we think. And I think it's more important to do that. So like I said, we're going to take one of those ideas today. Now, I'm going to do this not just for Black History Month, but I'm going to do it for Native Americans too, because Native Americans, though they're not black, they have a lot of ties and connections and similarities when it comes to the black culture. And besides, if y'all did not know, I have Cherokee blood within me. So I want to represent both parts of my culture. But like I said, because it's February and it's Black History Month, and I'm a black man myself, the first one we're going to do is make our own black DC superhero team. Now, when it comes to the criteria for this team, the criteria, we're basically just going to follow the rules that we always use. Of course, we can't use a character that we choose more than once. As far as membership count goes, we're only going to be doing 5 members for this team today, with additional 2 support staff members. The 5 members are the ones that, if this was a book or a show, the ones we always see, recurring characters, the ones that our stories about, supporting characters being the ones that make a pop-up appearance here now and then. They go to for advice, or they're supporting characters that, help the story move along and stuff. But yeah, as far as like any other criteria go, this is just going to be more of choosing characters that are underutilized or who I have interest in and stuff like that. Now, when it comes to this team, I just want y'all to assume, pretty much assume that any DC Universe team I use, these are all characters that I know very little about and have a lot of interest in. Because Well, I am a DC comic fan, and I do read DC comics. Y'all would know if you've paid attention to any of my videos that due to DC always rebooting and stuff, I try not to read a lot of DC comics just because it's so hard to know what's in continuity, what's not, and all that good stuff. Plus, I've always been more of a villain fan when it comes to the DC universe. But all these characters I've known, but I really haven't seen any stories with them, or I've seen them in TV shows and I've done research, and more or less their adaptations in TV shows, movies match who they are in the comics. And because it's a Black History Month, I want to use characters that have something to do with the black community or them being black, a part of their origin. Not them like being, oh, I'm black, I'm a black hero. No, I mean, like, I want it more intricate than that. Like them being prominent figures who stand up for us, or them having to deal with the things we go through on a normal basis, being a major part within their history origin. And with that being said, the first person we are going to choose for this team is we are going to choose Vixen. Now I know Vixen. I've seen Vixen appear in certain comics without having like major speaking roles or anything. Like my first time seeing her in a comic was like in the background of a Justice League New 52 comic. I haven't read the Justice League of America comics yet for New 52, but I know she plays a big part in that. But as far as like how I know Vixen from her time on Legends of Tomorrow in the Arrowverse, whether it be Amaya or Marie, and I know her from her Vixen CWC show. But out of all of those iterations, I know her best as Amaya Zimbabwe. The in the show, she was the ancestor of the current Vixen. And whether you use Amaya or Marie, I'm gonna use Amaya because that's the one I know of. They're still tied, and just like unlike everybody within the team, while she may be a black character, she has direct affiliations and connections to Black History Month or the African nation where we all come from. And that definitely just said this woman's name wrong. I'm sorry. That just shows you how untapped I am when it comes to DC Comics and stuff that goes on there. Well, I didn't say her, well, I did say her name wrong. But I guess depending on how you talk or how you look at it and how you pronounce it, it could be either or. But how they pronounce it in DC is actually Mari. Her name is actually Mari McCabe. And when I said her last name was like Zimbabwe, that's not her last name. Her name is Mari McCabe, and the reason I said Zimbabwe is because she actually comes from a place in Africa that starts with a Z, and the place is known as Zambezi. But as I was saying, Mari has direct ties to the mother nation of Africa. And what I mean by that is, like I said, she came from Zambezi. But when it comes to her heritage and stuff, her powers and her origin ties back all the way to one of her ancestors who asked for the animal totem. And, through her bloodline, it got passed down generation to generation to generation. But even if you took that away, she is still a Zambezi native, and she ended up migrating or immigrating to America. Now, the reason I'm putting her on this team is because, like I said, not only does she have direct affiliations with Africa as a black person, but her story is rooted in black tragedy. Her mom was killed by poachers. Her dad was killed. So I feel like as someone who built herself up from a person who lost everything, had nothing, moved to a new country and became a businesswoman, I feel like she would be great on a team like this, especially since, stereotypically we're seen as, oh, they lost everything, now they're going to quit. Or, oh, they lost everything, they have nothing, they're going to be nothing. Or, oh, their family was all connected to some tragedy. There's going to be trouble, blah, 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 this, blah, 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 that. Plus, with the powers and connections to animals, she could be an environmentalist. So I feel like that would be good. And the reason I'm mentioning Mari is because I forgot. The character Amaya, that was invented for the Arrowverse. She doesn't really have a comic appearance. Amaya and Mari in the comics are the same person, so we're gonna use Vixen as the first person on this team. With everybody else that I'm putting on this team, she'll be the one to be the bridge and the connection to the mysticism world as opposed to reality or the scientific world. Plus, she'll be the main one to bring that cultural and legacy forefront into the fold. Now, as far as our second member goes, I'm gonna go ahead and recruit the character Anissa Pierce, aka Thunder, the first daughter of Jefferson Pierce, aka Black Lightning. Now, I know Anissa mainly from the Black Lightning TV show. She had to be probably one of the best characters up there. Yeah, yeah, definitely one of the best characters, at least on the hero side on that show. But with Anissa, she she's all about protecting her fellow people, fighting back against oppression, showing the world that no matter what they do to us or what they say about us, that we're here to stay. They can't knock us down, that we're gonna fight back, that we are not all meant to be stereotyped because there are a lot of black people within the black community who do good, who have risen above our expectations and stuff. And as an activist and a single, well, not single woman, but as a lesbian woman, she has many strikes against her. One, as a lesbian, she's already known to be a minority and to be segregated because of her love affiliation. But as a woman in general, she's already stereotyped because, women are known to seem lackluster or they're not known for anything more than being housewives and stuff. But as a medical doctor, she's already proven that she can go against the odds, that she's a strong, independent woman. She doesn't need anybody standing up for her. And as an activist, she has a lot that she could contribute to a team like this, whether it be a show, whether it be a movie, a game, a comic, or just an actual team that will actually appear. She has a lot that she could show for and contribute individually or as a teammate. Like for starters, with her powers, she can be the brute force and the defensive crowd control or resilience or barrier for her team when it comes to like them being ambushed or attacked. Plus, with her medical training, she can keep her team alive in combat emergencies, as well as be an on-field medic for the victims and the citizens that are in the crossfire. But also, when it comes to like emotional and spiritual death, she could be the person who helps teach the team about cultural leadership and representation opposed to those members who might be more worried about physical strength or their representation in power or numbers and stuff. She can be the voice that says, no, as a person who belongs to this, it's our job to do this. As heroes, we got to do this. But as black people ourselves, we should be doing this to help out the community. So my second person, like I said, is going to be Anissa Pierce, aka Thunder. Now, as you can see, the way I started this team off was with two prominent, strong black female characters. And I might as well keep the train going because, like I said, while this is a video dedicated to Black History Month and black characters that I'm going to utilize, y'all know how I feel about my female characters. We don't have a lot of them. And the ones we do, they are highly underutilized and done dirty. So I want to give more love to them too. So we're going to round this team off with a third female member. And the third female member we're going to add is one who's not really a DC character, but she's tied to DC in a way that a company who originally owns her adopted DC. I don't know what that story is. It's like an ongoing on and off legal thing, like how Sony and Marvel are always on the verge of battling for Spider-Man characters, whatever. But if you know who I'm talking about or what universe I'm referring to, I'm referring to the Wildstorm universe. And the person we're going to choose from there is known to be the heart and soul of the Wildstorm universe. And I am talking about Raquel Irvin, a.k.a. Rocket. Now, Rocket is probably the one on this team that I've put on here so far, or that I will put up here, that I know the least about, but I'm highly interested in. Well, either her or another character. And what I mean by that is, while I've known about other characters, or I've seen them in other media, or at least they had some type of mention in a book I've read, I've only ever got to know Rocket, or only ever met her, through the Young Justice TV series when it first came out. And I'm putting her up here, one, because her powers are cool, her outfit is cool, I like her attitude. But like I said, even when I was introduced to her in Young Justice, you know, if you have watched Young Justice, they were mainly focused on the core six members that they first introduced to us in the first few episodes of season one. After that, Rocket had like what, one episode, maybe a one and a half, before she transferred over to season two and became part of the Justice League. And then once she became part of the Justice League, we didn't see it anymore because it wasn't a Justice League show. It was a Teen Titan slash Titan show. And then we got some stuff about her in season four, but not a lot. But anyway, it goes, I'm going to put her on the team, and she's going to be the moral compass on the team, the moral anchor. And the reason I'm putting her on the team is mainly because not only is she a black character, like I said, I like her powers and her outfit and everything, but she is directly tied to giving prominence to other black characters in a way that she's been their moral angle, in a way that she's like, hey, you have powers, you should be doing this, or you should be a hero, or you should be doing more for our community since you're one of us. And if you know who I'm talking about, I'm referring to how she encouraged her mentor, Icon, to be a hero who took more of an activist role within his community, within the Wildstorm universe. Now, if you want to look at this from a story and a plot perspective, I think that Raquel has the most she could contribute to story development, story arcs, and a plot angle. Because if my information that I'm remembering from research is correct, if you look at all the characters I have on this team, or that I will be putting on the team, outside of from like Anissa, Raquel is probably the youngest person on the team, but she also has the most strikes against her, in a way that she has the most reasons to be focused on from like a problem standpoint. You know, she can keep everybody grounded and give them more directioning. But she's also young and the mother. And seeing that she's young and the mother and she had her kid at a young age, I believe, she can be seen as the stereotyped one within the show, being like, oh, young black people, young black women, they ain't nothing except tramps or whores, or, you know, they're always out partying, got their legs spread open, this, that, and the third. Or you can look at it from an angle where it's like she always has to juggle between being a mom and being a hero, and having to face the reality of her having to grow up and mature, in which you can make a story arc where you have to go through character development and touch on plot points and details, where it is that she's learning about growing up and responsibility and maturity and taking accountability for her actions, while not blaming the world, while still trying to do what's right and trying to find balance. So she understands how it is to deal with being a good hero while being an activist in the black community, while also trying to be a good mom and not go against the stereotype that, you know, black parents don't know how to raise kids right, or that, you know, her kid's gonna come out wrong or whatever because his dad's not in his life, or because he wasn't given enough attention, or he grew up in a black park, so he's gonna be a thug, stuff like that. Plus, in the Young Justice show, her kid has autism. So if that's true for the comics as well, or even if you take it from the Young Justice standpoints, looking at it like that, you also have the angle where she has to learn how to deal with medical problems and mental health. And mental health is a serious problem when it comes to the black community. So she has a lot of angles that she can work with. And with all of these angles that she has, she can be the voice of the people, give the team a younger generational perspective. As a mother and a young person who's dealing with everything she's dealing with, she can keep them emotionally grounded, bring emotional depth. So when Thunder's getting too militant, she can let her know. Or when they're getting away from their dynamic as a team, she'll back out and be like, I'm not coming back until y'all get y'all shit together and stuff like that. So we're going to choose Rocket to be the third member and the third female on this team. So now that we got three of our members out the way, obviously that means we're going to have two left. And while I would love to make this an all-female team, I'm going to be honest, because again, I don't read DC that much. I can't think of a lot of black prominent DC female superhero characters. And besides, I think that black males have a lot more to deal with negatively in the public eye. So our last two members are going to be of the male gender. And the first one we're going to choose, we're going to go ahead with John Henry Irons, aka Steel. Now, y'all know me, I am not a Superman fan whatsoever. But if you ever heard anything I've said about Superman, you would know that I love his supporting characters. Not all of them, but John Henry Irons are still, I love him. I first met him in the animated Reign of Superman movie, and then I got to see more of him in the Superman and Lewis show. The concept of a person who takes up the call, who stands up and wants to do more when it comes to things like putting his life on the line or becoming a vigilante, saving people and stuff, is amazing to me. Like, he has no trauma. He's not a part of a legacy or anything. There's no one out hunting him or his loved ones when he first starts. I just think that that's incredible to want to put your life out on the line just to show people that, hey, people actually do care. Like, people, they look at me funny when I tell them I just want to change lives. I just want to make people happy. Because most people are so used to people wanting something or looking for some type of reward. They're not used to people doing things out of the goodness of their heart. Like, they don't see or they can't imagine a black young man or a man at all having such big inspiration, such ambition, such passions for something of the sort. And I think that's a positive angle that we could use more when it comes to how the public sees us when it comes to the black community. And the reason I just went through the trouble of saying all that is because if you didn't know, unlike the Superman and Lewis show where John Henry Irons was, trying to get revenge on his Earth Superman and was hunting Superman, trying to protect people from him because he thought he was dangerous. In his original appearance within the Death of Superman comics and Reign of Superman movie, it wasn't like that at all. Yeah, he was shocked into saving people, but it wasn't like someone said, put on the suit, fight back. Superman or whatever just said, make something out of your life. And he was already doing that. So for him to take something he was already doing, combined with the shock and the honor of wanting to be a positive influence and just help people, it made sense for him to come to the conclusion to essentially take that combination and turn it into a persona where he could do probably the most efficient amount of work and good into the world and dedicate it to the person or symbolize it after the person who saved him. So that's the first reason I'm putting John Henry Irons on this team. Now, for the other reasons I'm putting him on the team, as opposed to everyone else, John Henry Irons is just a normal human being who uses technology and weaponry to be a hero. You have everybody else on the team who has mysticism or some connection to some type of power source, or they're alien or they're metahuman or whatever. So while I said Rocket can be like the face of the people, I meant Rocket can be the face of the people culturally. But from like looking at a mortal perspective of knowing what normal human beings go through, need, how they feel about superhero antics and stuff, that would be who John Henry Irons represents. And while he may not seem as tied to activism or, black trauma like Rocky and Thunder or Vixen have been, John Henry Irons, he can be the person on the team who shows black excellence, especially when it comes to the black male community. He was orphaned, but he put himself through hard work and discipline to earn a scholarship to Yale nonetheless. And a lot of people don't expect us to go to Ivy League schools like Yale or Harvard. They're mostly seen for Caucasian people and everything. So that's one. Two, he could bring the big brother energy. And I feel like no matter what team we're doing, it's always important to have a heavy. Yes, we have people like Thunder who could be a bruiser, and we have, Vixen who could call on the powers of like a rhino or something. But that doesn't really carry the power of a heavy hitter. Someone who can really do damage against a villain like Doomsday or someone like that. But besides being the face of the normal citizens, he can be our tech person. While Rocket deals with alien stuff, Vixen deals with the mysticism, and we have Thunder taking care of like our medical side and scientific area from a biology standpoint. We can have John take care of the scientific angle from a tech standpoint, which I think is good because, like I said, he may not be counted as one of the like top 10, top 15 smartest people when it comes to DC Universe, but he is seen as a technical genius and influential mind. And it seems that he is good at science and has an engineering background. He could be seen to make weapons or invent things that are good for the team. Not only the team, but things that influence the black community. And even if he didn't see that in the story, we can go through a story about his past where, gangs and terrorists are using his weapons and stuff from the past and using it to oppress black people. And that makes great story points right there. Which leaves us with our last member. And our fifth and final recruit for the main team is going to be Valzad, the Black Superman. Now, you're probably wondering, wait, if you're adding Valzad, what was the point of adding Steel? Isn't it redundant kind of having two heavies on the team? And a team like this, I don't think so, because since it's based in the DC Universe deals with higher power beings. So whereas Marvel may only need one superpower person, maybe two, because they deal mostly with, normal threats or street level problems, I don't think we will have the same problem within the DC universe because of the type of threat they deal with. They deal with a lot of aliens and celestial beings and deities and stuff. So I think it works here. Um, and I know story wise, it may seem problematic because they already look at us funny. They already stereotype us or think we're violent and aggressive. And it seems that you have a team full of power, they may have a problem with it or they may be scared of the team. But look, when it comes to a team like this or when it comes to ideals like that, it's certain things you can help and certain things you can't. Racism in itself is bullshit. Racism, bigotry, segregation, it's all bullshit. It's nonsensical. It's all about fear and people's dumb beliefs. And sadly, it's all embedded in someone's personality and mental and spirit. So sadly, we can't help it. We have to deal with it. It's sad, but it's true. But as far as Valzad goes, Valzad is going to be the team's ultimate powerhouse, like the ultimate powerhouse. I know we got hitters and we got bruisers and we got people with actual power, but because of how many powers and the type of powers and type of physiology that Valzad has, he'll be the ultimate powerhouse, but he'll also be the soft-spoken person, like the heart or the spirit guide, the light of the team, in a way that, when you look at all these characters, he's the calmest one the gentle one. He's the one who's more of a pacifist than everybody else on his team. Where, there'll be some arcs where it'll be like, well, yeah, but do we really have to? Or, yeah, but is it really that serious? Is it really a problem? Or are we looking at this wrong? That type of pragmatic angle when it comes to the story development. And I think that ultimately, story wise, that's another angle you can really play with. Because now that I think about it, that makes more sense. You know how so many people say Clark Kent, aka Superman, is the light, the pure soul, the peak of humanity, blah, blah, this, blah, blah, that. He's like the person of who he's trying to be. I think it's more that Val Zod should take that place. Seeing that, Clark, about violence, General Zod about taking over, about military. Kara, definitely about violence. But you got Val Zod and his particular set of parents who believes that violence isn't a way. You should be pacifist. There's other ways to do so. So to have a person who is more diplomatic and doesn't believe in violence, that's a good thing, especially when black people always seem to be violent. He could be the face of stop this black on black crime, give peace to the world and stuff like that. And while you have a team full of hitters, you can have a diplomacy person, a person who is more about talking. And I also think, again, back to the whole ideal thing and how people see us, someone being on a team who doesn't want to, use his powers because he knows exactly the type of powers he has, knowing that one, his powers can cause problems, two, his powers can be destructive, or three, if he gets too carried away or loses his way, he could be a real threat. I think that's interesting to look at that angle. Yeah, people might be like, yeah, he's weak, but other people might be like, no, he's actually taking care of us. He's actually looking at it from a smart, safe perspective. We could definitely put him on the team. So we're going to add Valzard as our last member. So, guys, to round off our team, we have Vixen, we have Thunder, we have Steel, we have Valzard, and we have Rocket. Now, as I was saying before when we got started, when it comes to the support staff, they're not always needed, but we are going to put two support staff members on this team. And as far as support staff members go, well, for starters, seeing as how the support staff are, basically the backup, the characters like in the TV show that pop up every other episode to help move the plot along, or pop up in the comic book like every other issue or so to add exposition. I don't think it's as vital or as necessary for our support staff to be full of fact members like the team is. So they're not going to be. Also, when it comes to support staff, I'm gonna let you know right now, they're mainly Black Lightning mythos based characters. And that's because while one, I were looking for other supporting characters that can help be part of support staff, the ones I looked up, they didn't really fit like the overall team as a whole, or they were redundant. And second reason being, Thunder's the character on the team I have the most knowledge about because of the Black Lightning show. And I'm not as versed when it comes to the other characters. So I'm not as versed when it comes to the support staff. So with that being said, for our first support staff member, we're going to choose Detective Henderson. Now, if you watch Black Lightning, you would know that Detective Henderson was a cop. He was a detective. Then he was chief. He was like the pseudo godfather of Anissa and Jennifer. He was like the best friend slash, that grew up with you, we friend type of brother to Jefferson. But you will also know that he was black. Well, in the comics, he is not a black man. So he is not a black detective. He is a Caucasian man and a Caucasian policeman. And with the team we're making, I think that can play very well when it comes to story arcs and plot development and everything. And here's why. With what we see in the world today, in comparison to, back in the days, the world is still full of oppression, especially when it comes to the black community. And when it comes to police, the police force and authority, they still use their superiority and power and abuse it to the point where they're oppressing black people, and there's a lot of police brutality in the world. So we can have it in a way where that Henderson may not contribute to it, but he's not looked upon greatly because of how the cops on his roster may do the same thing. Or we can have it in a way where there's always some type of story tension where, for starters, he would have to almost cross the line of becoming a brutal policeman and asserting his power. Or there's tension between him and the team and the love he has for the Nissa, or, the team in general, where there's a lack of trust, or he's in charge of hunting them down, like becoming part of a police task force or whatever. And now there's a lot of story development behind that, where not only are the oppression side of the story with the black community is more in danger, but superheroes in general are being hunted as well. And as a policeman, he has to be objective. He can't really be subjective. So while he has to look at things from a standpoint of legal authority and what's right and what's wrong, and have to be following the book and the code, he can really be an opposing mental and vocal voice against, the idealism role for Rocket and Vixen, or the activism role of Thunder. And while all of those are good for like story points and story plots and shifts and everything, those make him seem more like an enemy. But like I said, we're adding him for a support staff member. So as a support staff member, the role he will be playing is the role of the anger on the ground, in a way in which he will be our connection in the story or in the show, or whatever you mean to make this as, or if you were to take it in such a way where he is our reminder and connection to the real world, how the world works outside of superheroes, how the world works outside of the superpowered realm. He'll be the one to tie us into the government, into the civilians, into realism, and show us that, hey, these ideals and these philosophies I have are good, but this is what the real world is. This is what life is. But on the team, he'll be the one who like provides things such as intel, communication, logistics, ground level reality checks, stuff like that. He'll also provide networking and urban knowledge. And as a policeman slash detective, obviously he'll also be the one to provide like backup for like real big problems where they might need like an army, or he'll be the ones to provide like hints to like start, you know, progressive searches or progressive situation handling and everything. He'll be the one to provide the hints and temporary containment or legal advice or whatever. So that's the first member we're going to put on the team for support staff. Now, as for the second member, like I said, the second member is also going to be a Black Lightning character. And the second member we're going to choose is Gamby, Peter Gamby. Now, if you watch the Black Lightning show, you would know that Peter Gamby, again, is a Caucasian man. He was the one who took Jefferson in when his father died when he was a kid. And he basically raised him and trained him into this hero that he is and the man that he is. And he's now the pseudo uncle slash grandfather, I don't know how that dynamic works, of his daughters. And he's a family protector. Now, the reason I'm putting Gamby up here is because he can be the person who is the man in the chair, the one who makes the suits, the one who makes the weapons, and stuff like that. The one who is the actual real support staff, like when they're on a mission and things need to be searched for or collected. He goes out onto the field and he finds that intel. He finds that area. He finds that artifact and stuff. Plus, with him being an ex-government agent slash government spy, he will have the knowledge and everything he needs to do detective work or to give the team intel on how governments operate, or he could think outside the box. He could think like evil corporations, or think of how bureaucrats and politicians work and everything. So all of that to say, he's versatile enough where he could be either on the field in a small to medium sized role, or he could be off the field where he can do things such as enhance the suits and enhance the tech, make suits, where he has a great relationship and kinship, friendship with Steel. He's smart enough to work with Steel. You know, he could be the uncle to the younger members on the team. He could be like a companion person, a friend to Valzad and stuff like that. Because he's also old enough to connect the metahuman world and how they're treated to actual civil rights movements. Because he's probably seen the civil rights movements from his time. So he could bring like moral wisdom, that's elder wisdom, but he can also add a compassionate touch to that, where he could be the overall mentor of the group. So that's where we're putting Gamby up there. And together, Gamby and Henderson could be, you know, the ones who give perspective and meaning. And anytime they come in, they'll shift the story dynamic where you can definitely add to the story arc, the story plots, and the characters. And it could be one of those things where it's like, Henderson, you may not abuse us like the rest of your force does, and Gamby, you might, you know, have raised us, or you may fight for us and everything, but you're not really one of us. You would never really understand what it is to be a black man, to be a black woman, to be a black person in this community. You would never know what it means to go through, we have to go through. So it could be a story like that. So those are my two support staff members. Now, as far as who is going to lead this team, like I told y'all, I wanted y'all to be aware of who are going to put on support staff team. And the support staff team seems that they're Black Lightning characters. You would assume that out of the 5 members that put on this team, my leader is going to be Anissa. No, Anissa is actually going to be my second in command. My leader is actually going to be Vixen. And here's why. Because while Thunder may have the experience of being a teacher and teaching younger people and may have had the knowledge and mentorship of Gamby and her father and the older heroes on the team, I still think she's at a point where she's rash and impulsive and allows her emotions to dictate her. And like I said, she's very much more of a tactical person. So I think she'll be better as a field leader instead of like the leader who oversees the overall mission and state. And for Vixen, I think that's better for her because she can worry about like the public image and global, while Thunder just worries about the now. She's just worried about the now and the community. And while she's more worried about saving people, she doesn't worry about what that does to her image. But Vixen will realize, like, no, if we want to fix the image of the black community, we first need to make sure we're providing a good example. We can't save them if they're also hating us at the same time. We have to have cohesion. We have to work like this. And if we start with the small community, then eventually it's going to be the big community. We just can't focus on here. There's black people in trouble everywhere. So I think that'll work. Plus, you know me, I always just want to give my female characters bigger moments and bigger roles to play. So that's why I'm going to put them on the team as the leaders and the second in command. But yeah, you guys, that is my Black Justice League. I don't know if I'm going to call this like a Civil Rights Justice League, the Black History Month Justice League, but it's obviously a Black History Month Justice League, but I don't know like exactly what type of adjective or title I should give it besides them just being the DC Black Hero Team. That's kind of whack. But anyway, let me know what you guys think of my team. What do you think about Black heroes in comic books in general? Who's your favorite black superhero or superheroine? Uh, who would your black DC superhero team look like? Who would you replace on my team? What do you feel about the members of my team? What other story arcs would you be interested in? What black team should I do next? Should I do like an all-black X-Men, an all-black Avengers, an all-black Resistance Force, or an all-black? Like, just let me know. I hope everybody has a good day, and I hope everybody has a good Black History Month. You guys know what it is. I'll catch you next time. Deuces.